welcome to Learning for a Cause. Today we're doing a basics of a graphing calculator video. So this is just a Texas Instruments TI-84 Plus. I got this from, I think, Amazon, around $90, I think. And just to keep in mind, this is not the newest model. There's so many more advanced models from Texas Instruments. And those are actually a lot more expensive, like $140. But I would say that an average price for a graphing calculator would range from around $80 to $150 if you're taking in mind the even more expensive ones. And I don't know, I would just say look around online before buying and purchasing one so you can get the best deal and you can get the best quality. So this is just mine. Also, keep in mind that even though this isn't the newest model of the graphing calculator, the basic functions are the same. So if you do have the newest model or an even advanced version, the basic functions will be the same. So don't worry if you're going to be like, oh, will this video help me? It will, because the basic functions are the same. It's just that the more advanced calculators have like a better screen, and some programs are a bit different. So I think the most basic thing you have to know about a calculator is how to put it on and off. So there's the on button right here. That's how you put it on. And if you're wondering how to put it off, you go to second and on. And now you're like, oh yeah, it says off there. And you're like, why did you press second? Well, I'll go into more detail about that, because at first I was like, wait, what is this fancy stuff? But we had calculators in school, so I kind of already knew. But if this is like your first time ever using your graphing calculator, you're going to be a bit confused. So another thing I think that's very helpful when you have a graphing calculator is to know how to reset everything. So, after you're done using it, so it'll be reset. So what you do is second plus 7, 2, 2, and then right over here, it's reset for you. Alright, so now let's go on to the second and alpha buttons. So what they mean and why there's like two different colors above the actual buttons. So as you can see, there's the letters and some other functions and like question marks. Those are in green. And then a lot of different functions are in blue. So basically, if you want to do something and you're like, okay, I really want to find the square root of a number, but you're like, okay, you press this, and here it's squaring it, but you're like, how do I get to the square root? Well, that's why we have the second button. The second button, if you press the second button, let's first clear this and put in a number, for example, 25. And I want to find the square root of 25. Oh wait, never mind. Sorry. You first have to press the square root. So you're like, okay, how do I get to the square root button? Well, you press second and then you press square root. So what that does, whenever you press second and then you press the button, it'll tell the calculator, okay, the person doesn't want this function, it wants what's above it in blue. So then you have the square root and then you put in the number. So remember, you always do the square root and then number. And then you press enter and it gives you the answer. Let's see. If you wanted to do a bracket, oh, it's not working. Okay, that's because you gotta press the second button because it's in blue. So whatever you want, and if that thing is in blue, you have to press the second. So second, you got yourself a bracket. Let's do pi. You want pi? Nope, don't press that. Go to second, and then you got yourself some pie. And then you have the alpha button, and probably by what it says, you know what it does. It's to get access to all these alphabets. So the one I use the most, obviously, is X. So you just press alpha, and you go to X. It says X, and X is really helpful when you're going to do some graphing stuff, which I'll talk about more. There's also there's not only alphabets, there's other things like solves and quotation marks. I feel like those are needed when you're doing very, more complicated work. But like I'm saying right now, I'm just talking about basic stuff. So I think the most needed alphabet and the reason you're going to use that alpha button is going to be for X. Okay, so now on to graphing. So basically all your graphing stuff will be over here in the top section of the calculator. So if you want to input a function, you just go to y equals and put in your function. So let's do, for example, the function's x plus 2. Then you go to alpha x plus 2, And there you have it. After that, you want to graph it, right? So you just go to graph. Oh my god! Look! It has it there for you. It's a miracle. Okay, so you can like move this cursor around and find the x and y intercepts. There's actually a better way to do this, and I will probably explain that in another video. But this is just like the basics, you know. If you ever want to look, there's like a lot more, you know, in the second functions. But I think the one I would use the most would be the table. So it's in blue, so I would go to second, graph, and then that will give me access to table. And here you kind of have all the points. So instead of doing it by hand, if you're taking a test or something and you have access to a graphing calculator and you're allowed to do this, then it's a lot easier and faster. You can just get through all of, you know, you can go skip all that work you need to do, and you have all your points there for you. So here you can see the y-intercept, look for the x-intercept. See? I think I skipped over, didn't I? Here you have the x-intercept. You can just, you know, you can navigate with this tool, sorry, like the arrows. So you go up and down and just look around and see, oh look. So if x equal to 1, what would y equal? 3. It's really simple if you have like to do, like solve the equation or something. You kind of have everything solved out for you up here. And then there's also window. I'm still a bit confused on what you have to do with this exactly. Like, I know what it does, but I'm still confused how to use it. So when I get a little more information, enough information that I'm an expert on this, then I'll teach you guys. But I know what it does and how to use it, but I don't want to confuse you guys, so I'm not going to show you that. But once I know, I will definitely make a video on how to use this window tool. So it's like, yeah. And then you have the zoom. You can zoom in and zoom out, and then trace. And this is the special or the better way to find the x and y intercept that I was talking about. It's this, but like I said, I'll do another video on that because, yeah. Alright, so on to this bottom portion of the graphing calculator. Here's just your numbers, your dividing, multiplying, adding, solving, the clear button, so if I ever want to clear something. Let's reset. Going to clear, you have your triangle stuff with sin, cosine, tan, you got your square button, and also if you ever have something that's more than a square in a cube, then you can just go to the number, let's do 5 for example, press this arrow button, and then you can put in there, so it's 5 to, this next button was 4, then there you have 4, and then you press enter, and then it solves it for you. So it's very helpful, so when you have something that's not a square, you can just input anything by using this button. Alright, so there's also these parentheses. These are really helpful in calculators because calculators go by PEMDAS. So if you do 25 divided by 1/2, if you put that down, the calculator will not understand that you're doing 25 divided by 1/2. Now they're two separates. They'll think you're doing 25 divided by 1 and then that divided by 2. If you want to do 25 divided by 1/2, use parentheses. 1/2. See? So always use parentheses. To be safe, I would also put parentheses around 25. Just use parentheses because calculators are logical, even though they technically don't have a brain. But you need to make sure you use parentheses. See the difference? This one's the right answer and this one's not. So, yeah. Okay, last but not least, another helpful tool is the math function. So you just press math, and you have a lot of things here. You know, a lot more complex stuff too. But the ones, because this is a basics video, I want to tell you guys the ones that I use the most. So I just use math and the first 5. So fraction, decimal, and then the cube root, cube root, and then this where you can just input whatever root you want to do. So these are the 5 that I use the most, and this is why I feel like the math function is really helpful. So here you have for these 3 for just roots and then cube roots, and I'm going to show you guys what the fraction and decimal function do. So here, if you can just move with this, and then if you want to do the fraction, just press enter, and then you can just make any answer into a fraction. So let's put in a decimal. Let's put 0.25 in, okay? And then you're like, oh, I don't have enough time to turn it into a fraction, you know, because you have to do everything. So you're like, okay, I want to do it quickly. So you can just go to the math and go to fraction, press enter, and then press enter once more, and then it makes it into a fraction for you. So sometimes if the decimal's like kind of big and a bit complicated and you don't have enough time, it's really helpful. You can just go to math and then fraction. You can also do this vice versa. If you have a fraction and you want to turn it into a decimal, so if you have, that's the fraction, you want to put it into a decimal, just go to math, decimal, press enter, enter again, and then you have the decimal here. If you were to do it by hand, you'd be like, oh, this is so hard. It's taking me forever. But if you do it by calculator, you just have it there and you can just round it. You can also simplify fractions. So if you have 2 divided by 6, now we all know it's 1/3. But just pretend we didn't know it was 1/3. So you would just go to math, fraction, enter, and then it simplifies for you. So a lot of times during tests, I feel that there's a lot of fractions and you're like, can this be simplified or can this not be simplified? And you just don't have enough time to figure it out. But if you have a graphing calculator with you and you're allowed to use this function, then you can just go and it'll simplify it for you. I think that's really nice and really cool. But see, right here, I just was trying to see if 1/3 can be simplified even further, but the answer came back as 1/3. So that way you know that, okay, 1/3 is the simple, like the most simplified way you can go. So that's why I really like this math function and the fraction and decimal. And here you just have, the other 3 are just, you know, basic. If you have to do like this, you have to find the 6th root, then you can just go to 5 and press enter and do that. Alright, so that concludes the basics for graphing calculator video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it was helpful for you. Please comment down below if you have any more questions or if you have any more suggestions of other videos I can do in this graphing calculator series. So thank you for watching. Please like the video and please subscribe. Thank you. Bye.